Calling the meeting of the Norfolk Advisory Board to order on
21st.
May 21st. I thought it was
It's still February.
February. Wait, I was looking at this calendar as I looked up. February 21st. I'm sorry. We're off to a good start this spring, folks. We hopefully will have a short meeting today. I wanted to accomplish a couple things, and we're going to ask Justin to give us kind of a brief overview of where the budget is at right now, and what the sort of expectations are going to be going forward. The warrant closes in a week, so we don't have a final warrant. When we get to that part of the thing, I'm going to ask when we can expect to be able to call people before us, you folks and Todd, and then various departments if needed. I've emailed the school committees, the school superintendents, to ask when they can be available, hoping to have a conversation with the new KP superintendent. But the first thing I want to do is I pledged when I became chair a year ago that we would do a reorganization meeting at the beginning of every year. We're here. We have 3 positions that are available: chair, vice chair, and clerk. I am happy and interested in staying as chair, but I'm happy to entertain someone else who might be interested. I don't know how Jonathan feels about his vice chairpersonship.
I feel very strongly that I should run for member at large.
You want to step away from your vice chair?
No, the vice chair.
All right. And Brian, I think I can hear your response before I even ask the question. Would you like to remain as clerk going forward, or do you think it's time for someone else to?
I think it's a great experience that other people could also participate in.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with, is anyone interested in acting as chair, be it running for chair? Are you interested in having me remain as chair? And if someone is, can I make a motion to that?
Nominate Dave Lutz as continuing chair of the advisory board.
Second.
You now have to run this vote.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There you go.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Is anyone interested in being vice chair? The burdens are heavy. When I take a bullet, Jonathan will have to step in. But anyone? No? I'd like to make a motion that Jonathan Hurwitz be returned as vice chair of the advisory committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Now we get to the tough one. I do think being clerk is something that everyone sort of should do.
Everyone should be a department head, too.
I think we have an excellent administrative person who makes being clerk a pretty easy job.
For sure.
I was clerk at the beginning of your time, and Brian's been clerk for a year now, and it's you do a good job of the minutes. They're easy to review. Very seldom do I find anything that I ever find anything that needed to be changed. The idea is that Erica sends them to you sometime before the upcoming meeting. You review them. You come to the meeting prepared to either make a motion or make recommendations on changes, and away you go. I'm looking for someone who would like to step up and be clerk.
Fine.
I didn't mean to look at Ken. I'd like to make a motion that Ken Fitzgerald be clerk of the advisory committee for the
Second.
coming year. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Our reorg is done.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Justin to give us an overview of where we're at with it's a thumbnail sketch of where we're at this point, I think. I think they're still finalizing things. Warrants haven't been closed. You can give us a status exactly.
Sure. So, good to see everybody again. It's been a while. But as Dave was saying, the warrant closes this Friday at 6. So my plan is hopefully over the following week to put the warrant together. I think high level, the article that is probably going to engender most conversation is the housing choice article, as well as we're going to be revisiting the inclusionary bylaw and looking to bring that back down to 10%. So we'll probably have Rich in for a bit. There's some CPC articles, unaccepted street policy article that we'll have.
I'm sorry, what?
Unaccepted street policy. We've been having, over the past year, a lot of requests for DPW to do service unaccepted streets, essentially snow removal, repairing some of these roads. And technically, without adopting the Mass General Law, you shouldn't be doing that work. So it's just been a challenge handling that. So we've talked with the Select Board about a proposed policy or guideline regarding that, but we probably want to adopt that Mass General bylaw so we can do some of the work that we have been doing there.
So this would authorize us to work on streets that we haven't actually taken as public ways yet.
Correct. And to be frank,
How many are there?
There's quite a few. I think off the top of my head, there's 40-ish or close to 40. We'll have the list together.
Yeah, okay. So much.
But some of these are paper roads. They've been 40 plus years, and they're not in a condition for the town except. And there's been a standard of some sort of work there. It's just correcting and doing what we should be doing properly. So it's procedural a bit, but obviously we want town meeting, select board to approve us moving forward with that. And yeah, I know CPC I think has 5 articles. They had a meeting last week and they were going through that. I haven't received anything just yet there. Yeah, those are pretty much your big articles this year so far that I've received.
With the CPC articles, we had an issue last time that there was an article that probably should have been reviewed by the conservation agent that wasn't.
Yes.
Before it gets to us, I want to make sure that they're prepared to take a position one way or the other.
So we've worked with Cindy and the team. We're having a little more interaction, just making sure staff has a chance to take a look at these things
Sure.
too. Caitlin took a look. She sent a memo to the CPC. So I think this year we have a good process in place to sort of prevent what happened before.
I emailed you folks today the articles from the planning board. They're having their hearing on March 12th, which is great. It's earlier than usual. We'll try to schedule something with them for sometime after that. I also had a conversation with Rich about the housing choice bylaw in January, I think. And my question to him that I'm going to ask if someone else doesn't ask is, why did all the B1 changes we made, which are all centered around transit and allow for denser zoning and mixed uses, not meet the standard?
Was it a size issue? I seem to remember something about not having enough acreage.
I believe it was, I want Rich to speak to it.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
want to muddy the
Yeah,
waters.
we started talking about this today and we
We'll let the
stopped
planner
because
talk about it. You get the information directly from him.
obviously this law has gotten quite a bit of attention over the last couple of weeks with what happened in Milton. And there's an expectation, I think, that we'll have a real understanding of what not passing it means by the time our town meeting comes along. We'll know from the state what Milton's penalties are going to be. The other, so if you want to just proceed with whatever else you wanted to talk about relative to the budget itself, that'd be great.
Sure. I don't know, Erica, did we forward the budget Excel that I sent over?
I didn't, because I didn't think you wanted
Yeah,
it.
you sounded like you wanted
Okay. So what I will do is, I'm asking Kate to print off a couple more. I printed just a couple just in case.
Okay.
I'm comfortable if you guys have, I think I'm missing one though. So I apologize.
I have it.
You have it?
So you can pass it around.
I don't know, do you want me to share it?
I think let's just use this if that's okay.
Two,
Oh, yeah, there are more coming.
yep.
Oh, okay. These are whole packets.
If Dave has one, then you guys.
This is a whole
No,
packet.
yep, I'll share with you. Thanks.
I'll read over Rob's shoulder.
So this is really a high-level budget view. So that first page is revenue. And if you take a look at it, obviously for fiscal year '25, particularly the top, we have local receipts. You'll note there's no adjustments for local receipts just yet. Todd and I are still going through the budget process, but we did implement the governor's cherry sheet numbers, so those are in there. Essentially, if you look at the bottom, you have 619,725, and that's essentially our new revenue for this year when you count for Prop 2.5, new growth, and the cherry sheet. I'll be honest, there are going to be some local receipt changes. We're going to bump them up a little bit. I am going to, speak with the select board as well as advisory. There's a danger in that, obviously, because the more aggressive you are with local receipts, that's feeds into your free cash and obviously feeds into capital for the town. So we're trying to grapple with coming up with as close to a balanced budget. We will have a balanced budget, but obviously realizing that this feeds free cash and capital in the future. So that's just your quick snapshot there. Before I get and dive further, timeline, David, I think 2 weeks. My goal is to have a conversation with the select board next Tuesday just to run through this prelim budget so they can see a picture of what departments have requested and what that looks like. And that will be shown on towards the latter end of the pages. But the following week after that, my goal is to have a recommended budget for the select board. And so I think I'm going to be available to come to you all on that Wednesday. 2 weeks.
2 weeks from today.
Yep.
Okay. The 6th.
Yeah, with a recommended budget, because I'm nearly there. Just Todd is out this week, and I just want
Sure.
to do a process with the select board before I come to you all.
Great.
Quick question,
Sure.
the net 620 additional
Yeah.
is inclusive of the ARPA funds going away, which is almost like $1 million, right? So that's 620 above where we were last year, and we don't have that $1 million. Like, how do we close that?
That's part of the conversation this year.
All right.
Because actually, you're going to see towards the end of in the middle of the packet here, it's page 10 when you get there. You're going to see this bottom number, and it's going to say surplus or deficit. It's obviously a deficit. It's a 1.5 million deficit. But this, once again, just being transparent, that's without any local receipt changes, and that's how departments submitted their budgets. So we've gone back, we're tightening up where possible, and that number will come down,
Yeah.
but still to balance the budget, we're going to be utilizing a significant amount of free cash.
Yep, okay.
And so that's what we're going to talk about quite a bit this year, I think. But that's a good question, yes. Go ahead.
No,
if-
continue. I was just going to say, Justin and I spoke about this earlier, and there is a need to have a longer-term discussion about revenues in outgoing years. There's the last of the ARPA money. Is it last of the ARPA?
This is pretty much it. And like I said, I'm giving
It will get spent this year, and it's filling a gap that
Yeah.
won't be there next year, so.
I'm giving you a preview that, one of my proposals, thank you, Kate, and here's some more, for share, just so you guys can take it home and dive in with it if you want.
Do you want one?
Sure.
Okay, there you go.
Take another one.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. Thank you.
ARPA, part of the proposal for this budget is that I will recommend to the board, and the board can decide, is repurposing some ARPA funds. We had a grant writer position that we had long budgeted for, and obviously we feel that it's I think a variety of departments have said, this is something that we would need, and there's a lot of grant money out there. But, just in the current budget climate, I think it might be better to repurpose those funds to balance the budget. So that's about $195,000. Most likely that will be part of my recommendation to the board to repurpose it to balance the budget. But after that, there is no more ARPA funds. ARPA's gone.
Question about the grant writer?
Yeah.
Do we, I know, like MAPC can help write grants in some cases, I think. Do you know if we rely on them, or is it just department heads that write them now, or?
It's mostly department heads.
Yeah.
MAPC hasn't really written anything for us. Our department heads, myself, we try to be aggressive as best as we can. There's obviously limitations, there's bandwidth, there's different things, but the board has given us, there was a MMA conference, and, the state sort of reiterated there's a lot of funds out there, and so we've tried to make that a priority to try to go for as much of the grants that we can get. So that's something that all of our departments are looking at. I've talked with them in department head meetings about that. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. some of these I'm gonna gloss over because there's no purpose to dive into them for you, but I want you to have this information. This is sort of, the next page is our recommended budget. You'll see like health insurance. All these different figures here are pretty much locked in now too. Health insurance, I'll just point out a few expenses that are big drivers in the budget. Health insurance, we are for the second year in a row at the highest rate possible, increase possible. It's essentially 9.95%. The reason why you see 9.12 is just because the way we budget it is based on how many users we have, but we're at the highest level once again.
Justin, is that Maya? Are you in the
Yes.
Maya Trust?
Yes, sir. Yep. So, probably, yeah.
Okay. I thought we talked about this last year, that there was going to be some research into the health insurance for the employees. Did that not happen last year, or is it a one-year contract?
No,
Can you explain the process?
sure. So we work with Maya, who does our insurance and like building and property liability. We have the opportunity to go out to bid on sort of health insurance and different things like that. Just because of where our claims were this year, our representative, and I agree with it, taking a look at it, suggests we don't go out because the past 2 years have been pretty excessive claims. We've had maybe 118%. So if we went out to the market, they said you're more than likely going to have a high rate. The way that Maya works too is that, some of these high rates are taking off. We're a collective. There's a group of people.
Correct.
So we thought it'd be prudent to just stay where we are this year and reevaluate it a future fiscal year. We are looking at a couple, I can't go into this just yet because we're talking with our unions, but we are looking at some plan changes for health insurance.
Yeah, I just remember a conversation from last
Yep.
budget session that it was discussed because it had increased
Yeah.
last year as well, so.
So we're looking at a variety of things. That's what I would say. And I'll have more information probably in 2 weeks then too.
No, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, on that sheet, I will probably just keep moving a little bit there. I think the budget summary sheet will probably be better. Next sheet, just employee benefits. These numbers, as I said, they're locked in. Medicare's highlighted, but that can come off. I won't dive into this one just yet. This is backup information. These next two sheets is for anyone who's interested to see debt and what's rolling on and what's rolling off. I'll highlight for fiscal year 25. If you look on the sheet that follows this next one, you'll see that the fire station is going to hit 2025. And we're looking at $1.7 million of exempt debt there. But this is just more backup information, what debt are coming online and coming offline. So if you skip past those two sheets, then you'll get to the general fund budget. And this is the budget, as I mentioned, how departments did departmental submissions. This is some understanding. I gave a budget memo guideline asking for departments to limit expenses to 3%, knowing that we probably have to be tighter than that, and we are tighter than that. In that recommended budget, you will have departments that are not growing by 3%, and that's inclusive of salaries and expenses. But we do ask them to submit their requests as they need positions, and I want them to speak to advisory and the select board, so you all are very much aware about, what services we aren't providing or what challenges we had. DPW is a good example. Last year, we took two positions away. We took the highway and the grounds position. And this past year, a lot of rain, a lot of different things. We had a lot more requests for fields and mowing and different things like that. So a lot of different challenges. So what you'll see here are the requests as departments submitted them. You look at facilities, for example, it was accounting for, the new fire station. Do we need to get a new custodian, the electricity, a variety of different things. So you'll have this information so you can see what the budget looks like when we do come to you in 2 weeks, because it will be significantly trimmed down. I would mention the MEC assessment. We talked about this last year. Last year, there was a large increase in the MEC assessment because that was the final 25% of the grant that the town received. So this year, you see it jump quite significantly again, about $100,000, because there is no more grants associated with it. This is the full allocation for the town. So you're going to see a large increase there. You'll see a large increase in elections, and we've got a bunch of elections coming up. We've got 5 that Carol is budgeting for. Trying to think of any large ticket things that.
Presidential primary,
Yep.
town,
Yep.
state primary, and general. What's the 5th one?
It will be.
Override?
No, we haven't scheduled override.
I'm trying to figure out what the 5th election is.
I'll let Carol answer that one.
All right,
I have
that's fine.
presidential-
I'm sure she's not looking, I mean, and if she doesn't have an election, she can't spend the money, so.
Yeah. We had talked about this, and this is something that we have to talk with the board about, figure out when Tri-County. We obviously know Tri-County, that project passed, and that was about, a $500,000 impact for the town. We can't afford that in the operating budget, so we're going to have a debt exclusion for that. I'm speaking with the town clerk, trying to come up with a proposal, and then we're going to speak with the board about that. That might be condensed into an existing election. I think that's what we were planning for. So maybe that was the 5th one, and it might be 4, but I've got to speak with Carol, and I got to speak with the board about that. We'll just jump to education a bit because these are sort of pretty much locked and loaded. Norfolk Agricultural School and Tri-County are a little higher than what we have here. Todd gave me those, reached out to them, and we got finalized figures, so we'll plug that in. It's just slightly higher. It's not too significantly higher. King Philip is 3.4% versus the 11% that we had last year. So that is obviously a big difference for us. That alleviates a burden from last year's budget. Norfolk Elementary, they have to vote on their final budget, but we've had conversations with Ingrid, and what it's looking like it will emerge is that we've agreed on 4% increase. However, on the budget version that you see, it likely will include a proposal to use special education reserve funds. And the way that has to be represented in the school budget. So we're recommending we use 125 of that special ed reserve. So it might look like 3.2% on the second version. So I'm sure that's a question you guys are gonna ask me about. I'm just putting it on your radar. That's probably one we want to dive into a bit.
And the argument is, from our perspective, we've already voted for that money because we voted it as part of a budget to put it into the reserve fund some years. Okay. Making sure I understand where it came from.
I see your grin there. I don't know. But just for a process.
Just a happy person.
Oh, you are? Okay. And just a process that you have to utilize to allocate from the special ed reserve is the school committee has to vote to allocate those funds as well as the select board. So it's a joint vote, and then we're all set from there. Trying to think. I think after that, I think in 2 weeks when you see the budget, you'll, like I said, it's going to be pretty trim. I think if you're not accounting for benefits, if you're not accounting for the MEC assessment and elections, town overall growth will be either 2% or lower. It will be lower than 2%, but we're going to be around there. So I think we have a lean budget proposal, a recommended budget, and after we speak to the select board, you should have something final in 2 weeks.
How did current year expenditures look? Like snow and ice? How's that going?
Snow and ice was good. You know what is interesting? The little small snow cost more money than the
worse.
big store. So we were really good until this last little bit of snow, and then we have to put salt. Snow and ice, I think we're maybe need a transfer of $20,000, but we were in a really good spot.
Not over yet, Justin.
Yeah, that's the other
Only
thing too.
it's only
That's
the
true.
third week of February.
It's not, it is not over, but we were in a good spot.
Great.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
And overall, departmental budgets, we're doing very well. I anticipate we'll have a really strong year again, as we have in terms of turnbacks and, trying to be conservative, so
Great.
we're in a good spot right now.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions, specific questions or general questions?
I always like asking about the capital plan, where we are in that.
Well, so this year, we're trying to implement the capital that we passed in November. I have some good news, and we need to promote this. Todd and I, we've partnered with ClearGov, and we want to be more transparent about this information. So Todd has completed putting the capital budget book together. We have it online. We're going to promote that it's online so we can dive into that a little bit. We can see what projects we've passed this past town meeting, as well as what's potentially looking in the future. So now it's really departments trying to fulfill the capital that we passed in November.
That's great.
I know DPW, for example, has already got some vehicles, police already got some of their vehicles, Carol's working on the election equipment. We've been pretty good. And in some cases, some of our departments got costs a little bit lower than what we budgeted, so we will always take that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's great, thank you. And I just wanted to give everyone a sense of, it's, what was the term that Todd used last year? It wasn't extraordinary circumstances, but it was like.
No, that was me.
Oh, that was you, a perfect storm.
That was me, and I take, I'll eat the crow, right? Because last year it was a perfect storm in the sense that everything was at the highest level possible. Like health insurance, pensions were high, the school assessment was high. There are, there's still some challenges. Because I think when you look at the education budget, you look at the MEC assessment, there's still things that go on. And then when you balance the budget with free cash, it just creates a cascading issue in the future. So there's still some challenges, and I think we talk about this here because no matter how it comes, I think unless the board wants to see something different, we're going to have to utilize a significant amount of free cash again to balance the budget. So we got to talk about that this year and what the ramifications are for the future years as well. But it isn't as bad as last year. That's what I would say.
There's information about the stabilization fund in here, or is that going to be?
We can give that to you as well.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you.
We'll give you an update on where we're at stabilization and free cash
Great.
after the transfers in capital.
The next item on the agenda is the calendar. Justin has already volunteered to appear before us in 2 weeks, which I think should probably be our next meeting unless someone feels a need. I don't think we have anything to look at next week. We don't have a final warrant. Planning, we can talk to planning about when they'll be able to come before us. I spoke to Betsy today. Rich is on vacation, so I'll wait for him to come back. I emailed the schools. I was looking at the King Philip website and I could not figure out, they don't list agendas for any of their committee or subcommittee meetings, so I couldn't figure out when they'll be dealing with the budget, so it was very confusing. I might be looking in the wrong place, but, and I emailed the superintendent today, and we'll hear from both superintendents on when they can come. Maybe if CPC is ready, I think we should probably see if we can invite them for the week after next week. So the 6th would be the next meeting,
Okay.
if people are comfortable with that. And then the week after that week, if CPC can come, that'll be the 13th.
You just said CPC for the 6th and 13th.
Well, they have, no, I didn't mean to say that.
Okay.
Justin's coming on the 6th.
Okay.
To talk to us about sort of the budget and the warrant and stuff like that. CPC could come on the 13th. They have 5 articles. I don't know how involved they're going to be, but sometimes we can spend some quality time with them. We have, so maybe they should go by themselves. Until we hear from the schools, I don't know when. But if there's departments that may want to or need to come talk to us about impacts of budget stuff, they could go on the week after the 13th, which would be the 20th. So that gives them basically a month from now to figure out. Do you have a sense who might be on that list?
Yeah.
Okay. We usually like to hear from the public safety departments because they tend to have some, critical needs, that definitionally they're critical needs. And we also, because it's one of the bigger departments, hear from the DPW on a regular basis. But if there's anyone else that needs to come, maybe have the public safety come what are we on, the 20th?
That's what we're talking about right now.
Okay.
And then we can talk about anything else after that. Erica, you've looked at the calendar, right? So when do you think you need our recommendations? So we should also put that number
Yep,
as a,
so,
setting up a final meeting based on that number.
yep, let me just pull it up, but I think I need to have everything to the printer by April 24th.
Yep.
I believe is the,
Yeah, so
so I
April,
can have everything by that
the week before that? What's
the
the,
weekend prior, the 20th, 21st.
okay. And 3 days or 4 days is enough for you?
Yeah, because I mean,
Okay.
usually,
All right.
yeah, it's,
Okay, you're dropping stuff
Yeah.
in? Yeah, okay.
So that's.
The other thing,
And motions.
town meeting, I think, is a week late this year.
Just a day after. It's on the Wednesday instead of Tuesday.
Okay,
What day is it?
May
15th,
15th.
which is a Wednesday. I thought it was a week late because that puts it into the third week, which it would have been the third Tuesday if that was a Tuesday. That's why I was thinking that. So, okay. So put that on the calendars. So I think we have 3 meetings that we have an agenda for, and we can talk about more agendas or more meetings when we get a better download on the full warrant. Everyone comfortable with that schedule at this point?
Yep.
Okay.
Can I just ask you and the committee, I'm trying to think of how to get as many people and make good use of your time. If we discuss the budget on the 6th,
Yep.
if I have any department heads that I think you probably want to hear from available for the 6th, would you like to hear from them then?
Sure, yeah.
It might be a better opportunity for use of time too, as we're going through
As
it.
long as they think it's relatively final at that point, because
Yeah.
we've done that in the past where it's been too early, and
Yeah.
then they've had to come back because there's been bigger changes.
I'm 95% done with the budget. I just have to communicate with departments and stuff. So I think it'll be a good use of their time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That'd be great.
Okay.
Have the school committees communicated with you on when they're going to have their final versions for you folks?
Yes, I'm going to the budget subcommittee on the 27th, and I think they're taking a vote on the 12th. 12th is a Tuesday, too. Yeah, I believe that's the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so planning board is going to have their hearings, and there's going to be a budget meeting for the school, all on that same day,
March 12th.
March 12th.
The audiences don't overlap too significantly for those two things, I don't think, but maybe. That's the school committee, that's the elementary school committee that'll be voting on the 12th, okay? And that's the committee, not the budget committee.
Yeah. Budget committee is the 27th.
All right.
KP will be before that. They have to be, because they have to go for an earlier town meeting. And I think the earliest one's in April.
I thought we were the earliest one.
No, someone's in April this year. We're in May. And I think it's Rentham. I'm not sure.
Isn't it Rentham?
I think it's
Usually
Rentham.
first, aren't they?
Rentham, April.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were always first for some reason. I don't know why I think that. Okay.
No,
never mind.
unless I'm thinking of elections.
No, that's okay. So I think that concludes the calendar portion of our agenda.
It's in June. Okay.
Actually, a serious question, we had a meeting in, was that meeting? It was just a briefing, wasn't it?
Yeah, the one in December.
So we probably, it was a publicly, we do have to have minutes for that. And it can be like, we heard from, and then attach the materials and call it a day. But so next time, Ken will be happy to read his new minutes. Thank you, Ken.
Very excited.
Yes, I bet.
There are some meetings that are listed on the website that are showing that the minutes were not submitted to the town clerk. So there might be a.
I'll double check that on the ones that then we've already voted to approve them?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll double check.
As far as I'll double check that we voted on all of them, but I know like I have them and they're done and I'm pretty sure.
I think we were catching up
Yeah, we were
pretty
caught
handily
up.
at the end.
So it might have just been me.
Although, did we vote on many minutes before town meeting? Because that might be one of the ones that's missing. The meeting before the town meeting one.
I
can't remember now.
Okay, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I
Happened a
can
long time
check
ago.
my minutes
Okay.
to see when we voted on different minutes, but
Yeah.
I'll go through and I'll just come up with a list and I mean, we'll make sure that somebody signs them at town hall.
Yep.
That's the one thing is that you need to sign, have a wet signature on a copy that you drop at the clerk's office.
Okay.
If that's an issue for you, we can be helpful. I can pick them up and drop them, because you don't work in town.
No.
I work in town.
Okay.
I work at home 4 days a week, so. And I love chatting with Carol, so it'll give me an excuse to drop by, so. If there's nothing else, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Away we go.
See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much.